All right, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Omari Salisbury. Trae on a holiday has taken a few days off. We were here on air kind of yesterday when she had just got some horrible news that one of her family members was one of the people who was recently murdered here in the Central District of Seattle, and we really want to be able to bring some awareness about what's going on in our neighborhood. And so Trae is out today, most likely probably for the rest of the week. But it did present an opportunity, man, for me to pull in a co-host. And you know what better person to lean on than my big brother. So I want to welcome my brother Chukundi Salisbury to the show.
Big O, yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. Even though it's during these trying times, with everything that's going on in the neighborhood and beyond.
Yeah, and so I mean, let's just kind of jump right into it. And the thing is, when I talked to you yesterday, like, hey, would you be able to come on to the show? It was we were talking about a shooting and murder that happened the previous night, and now last night there was two other people that were shot on Cherry on 23rd and Cherry. We were talking, yesterday that Cherry actually has a long memory for people in the Central District as a street that quite a lot of people have lost their lives. But man, what's going on?
The sad part about it is it's so cyclical, right? As we've talked about, I used to work at Garfield Community Center. I was the coordinator there, assistant coordinator, and this was in the late 90s. And so, we've had, I remember when Dar got shot at the AM/PM there in 1998. And so, it's just ongoing, and we really need to figure it out.
Right. And so, I mean, it's it's an interesting time for us here in our city, and especially being from the Central District, being from the black community here. And I know people get on me for looking on my phone, but what we're looking at here is the police blotter from last night. Said detectives are investigating after two men were shot on the 2200 block of East Cherry Street Tuesday night. Officers were dispatched to investigate shots fired at the intersection of 22nd and East Cherry Street around 10:45 p.m. One person went by ambulance, and then to Swedish, and like another one personal car to Harborview. The reason why I thought that it was important, and you are running for office, 37th district, and all these other kinds of things. But I thought that, and hopefully if we got time, we'll get to that. I know your brother, I can show. I'm supposed to hook you up or something. But
I want to talk about the real issues. I feel like the streets know what I'm doing, but I really want to talk about today this youth violence, gun violence in our community. Clearly, this is something that's been going on way before I decided to do what I'm doing now.
Right. I talked about in Young O, as he goes by now, or Omi. I still call him Little O. He's a producer here on the morning show. And, I talked to Little O, and I was telling him that, like, man, when I was his age and attending Garfield High School, we deal with the exact same issues that he's dealing with, right now. And the issue of gun violence is generational in Seattle. I know you use the word cyclical, but it's now generational because we've dealt with it, and now our children are dealing with it.
Well, I would say it's both and, right? So, yes, it indeed is generational where, like my nephew, Lil O, Young O. But I guess from my point of view as a promoter and somebody that's been at the forefront all of these years, I say it's cyclical because, people that haven't been paying attention or they don't have a personal impact, they give us a call and they say, oh, what's going on? It's so hot right now. And they really don't remember that it was just 18 months ago or 6 months ago or 10 weeks ago when something happened, but they have a personal connection now. Maybe it's a coworker, a friend, and then that's when they say it's hot.
I get what you're saying, and it takes that personal connection because, I clicked back on around the murder of Connor Dasa Holland, because he was friends with Little O. You know, Connor graduated from Rainier Beach, but he also attended O'Day, and he attended O'Day with O. And that's when it really dawned on me, you know, because I saw O affected, and I thought about all the other murders that are occurring where I was just like, man, prayers, you know what I'm saying? We got to do better. But you're right, it isn't until it impacts you. And this is an interesting time right now because we're in protest season here in Seattle and across the country. And, you know, we're talking about the value of Black lives, you know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
And you know, it's interesting. I'm talking to my media colleagues earlier today down at this morning at the King County Courthouse. There was a rally there for Summer Taylor, who was killed on the freeway, and Diaz Love. And I was talking to my other colleagues from different radio and TV stations that were there, and we just talked about how there's so much emphasis on one part of the value of Black lives, but there's very little even media attention on what's going on. I mean, you know, in 3 days, you had three black men killed in gun violence. You have Pioneer Square, somebody killed on the north end, there in the Central District, 2 more people shot last night, and it's usually a byline, or it's usually when it makes the media, someone's just taking the SPD blotter and, you know, extrapolating and making a story, and kind of life goes on. And that's kind of how it's always been in the Central District.
Yeah, I can't say that enough, and that was one of the reasons why, you know, every time I'm personally impacted or called, you know, I've tried to step up, and really make sure that those names are put into the ethos, right? It's an issue when we can talk about, you know, systemic racism and Black Lives Matter, but we can't even say the names of, you know, Little Adi, who was, you know, murdered, you know, the night before last. And so we have to connect those 2 dots, and it's a challenge right now during protest season.
Right. And I mean, I would just, me personally, I would say that, you know, like you say, connecting the dots, there needs to be a connection that the same Black lives that I mean, there has to be a value to it. I've personally been here now. You know what I'm saying? And just in the last 2 months, you know, personally, even whether it's here at the Chop with Lorenzo Anderson, Antonio Mays Jr., you know what I'm saying? Just right here. We've got 3 more this weekend. And I'm sure in between that gap, because even us guys were so focused here on the protest, that, you know what I'm saying, the Black lives are literally dropping right in front of our eyes here in the city of Seattle.
Yeah, and the question is, what are we going to do about it? You know, and again, we've been impacted by this for years now, and I'm really trying to turn the page to where we can use this protest fire and talk about that. But, you know, one of the things, you know, I was on Twitter yesterday, and I'm talking about how we have to deal with, you know, what's going on right here, right now in our community, right? And again, the conversation always turns to, you know, the larger BLM issues across the country and the larger asks, right? But when we start talking about these Black lives that matter today, right? And then somebody died that very night, last night. And so until we can connect those conversations, there's a huge disconnect, and I find it challenging.
Yeah. You know, in yesterday's conversation, like I said, when I was talking to and I spoke with Willard Jimerson, this was right after the murder of Connor Dasa Holland, and we talked about how it's almost been the same story now for years, and also talked about Cherry Street. And so we knew you were coming on here, so we pulled out a few clips. The first one is from 9 years ago. When Shomari Stone was still here, actually, shows out there in Washington, D.C. now. Found a clip from Como News 4. And this clip, this segment right here was from 2 years after Tyrone Love was murdered. So Tyrone Love was murdered in 2009, right? Yeah,
it was President's Day weekend, 2009.
So, you know, it's been almost 11 years since Tyrone Love was murdered on Cherry Street, and then 2 years after that is when, in 2011, is when Shomari Stone came down there to Cherry and actually filed this report right here.
Seattle police are asking for the public's help in solving the 2-year-old murder of Tyrone Love.
Investigators say they've had a tough time because witnesses simply won't cooperate. Come before Shamari Stone reports officers hope a new approach will offer up new clues.
I'm not at peace.
Christina Bradford wishes she could wipe away the pain as she grieves over the senseless murder of her brother, Tyrone Love.
It's just not fair that this happened to him.
A gunman killed the club promoter 2 years ago while he walked home on East Cherry Street from his job at Pioneer Square.
He was wonderful. He tried to help everybody. He was always working with kids and always pushed people to stay in school.
Tyrone Love was an incredible young man who made some very valuable contributions to the community here.
Seattle police detectives have received several tips over the last 2 years, but they haven't made any arrests. They believe witnesses saw plenty, but refused to cooperate. Witnesses told police that the killer ran to the street, hopped in a car, and sped off. Some of those witnesses aren't giving detectives their names because of the no snitch rule.
And this no snitching attitude is just something that's really terrible. It is not okay to be standing at the bus stop next to a murderer.
We're again asking for the community's assistance with this investigation.
Police have teamed up with a community group, Silent War Campaign, to solve the case. They will put up 10,000 flyers over the next few days and tap people in the club entertainment world to get the word out.
The club scene is the access to find people from all walks, no matter what it is. You're going to celebrate something.
The Love family would love to celebrate when police catch the suspect, giving them a sense of closure. In the Central District, I'm Shamari Stone, Como 4 News.
So, yeah, that was 9 years ago, that clip right there on Como News 4. Thank you, Como, followed by Shamari Stone, right here on Cherry Street. You know, the same. That's what I'm saying is it's like years past, but for people from the Central, a lot of these stories remain the same.
Yeah, it's so cyclical and generational, and that clip right there just is real triggering for me. You know, honestly, you know, again, Tyrone Love was somebody that as a promoter, I had kind of taken underneath my wing. He worked at C-Spot with us, and he was really on his way to become who knows what he was going to be, but he was actually out there with us. I think one of the things that's lost in the Tyrone Love story is that he was one of the main impetus. We were out putting up the posters for Break the Silence. So he was actually trying to break the silence on crime in our neighborhood and murders in our neighborhood. And then, in fact, he was murdered himself. So, you know, and again, and it's just been ongoing. But, you know, one of the things I like to talk about with that campaign, and I really want to do a resurgence because I've been talking to folks like Willard as well. And we need to really keep these names alive. The community, you know, that's one of the things we can do while we're certainly asking for, you know, additional resources from other folks. We really need to hold ourselves accountable. Somebody knows who has the gun. Somebody knows who did it. And we need to also work on precluding that, of course, through, you know, intervention, the stuff that, you know, Dom and Community Passageways and others are doing. But we also need to work on getting the guns out of the hands of the known shooters. People, so they cannot shoot again. And that is something that we as community have to do. You know, and shout out to, SPD at the time, 11 years ago, they paid for those flyers for us to hand out to try to find, you know, the murderers of Tyrone Love.
And it's still unsolved.
Yeah, it's still unsolved, and and in fact, in an unrelated murder, there was an elderly woman that was murdered on my block. And the homicide detectives actually came to my house to investigate that. Did we see anything? And I had a chance to ask them about the Tyrone Love murder. And, you know, again, like they said on the clip, they feel as though they've got information, but they're not able to connect the dots. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why we had launched that, the whole changing of the snitching code, right? The fact is, if you see something, you need to say something. happen. And so we as a community, Black Lives Matter, we need to be able to say that, listen, like Reverend Walden, our mother said, it's not okay to be next to a murderer on the bus. If somebody shot and killed somebody in your neighborhood, we need to talk about that. And murder is wrong, right? And yes, in fact, we can get into, prisons and the like and how we do handle criminal justice. But at the end of the day, whether it's criminal justice or restorative justice, however we deal with these folks, it is not okay to murder somebody in our neighborhood and then continue to walk around. And, it's just unacceptable.
Right. Now, we found a clip because we went back 9 years, and then we found a clip from earlier this year, and there was this particular murder out in South Seattle, like I said, of Connor Dasa Holland, who was good friends with my son, with little O, that really got me, super active about it. And that's where we hooked up with Willard Jimerson for his show, Good Game Alert. Good Game Alert. That was something that me and Willard had kind of talked about for a while, but it was the murder out there of Connor Dasa Holland. I was like, bro, it's just too many people that are, that I see now that are impacted. And unfortunately, they've always been there. And sometimes you only find what you're looking for. And it wasn't until my son was so impacted, I'm like, man, how can we use our media platforms and everything else? And Good Game Alert came on. But there's a clip right here. Actually, you're in this one from King 5 when they covered a vigil around Connor Dasa Holland.
We love you all.
Alicia Dasa Holland.
We love you.
Is just beginning to mourn the loss of her son Connor, finding compassion among her grief.
Whoever did this to my son, that baby needed a hug. That baby needed more love in their life.
Seattle police don't know who shot at the car 18-year-old Connor was in Sunday night. He was hit by a bullet and would later die at Harborview Medical Center. Police are now asking for the community's help, a community that's hurting.
And we have to figure out how to make sure every kid in this community and every community is loved, that they get enough love.
And this is why one of the reasons we're here today is to make sure that his legacy is not marred. We're not going to move on. We're going to talk about all of the greatness that Connor is and was, and we got to make sure that his name is not dragged through the mud like it.
Yeah, and that was King 5's coverage earlier.
Yeah, that was a crazy day. So I looked. I don't know what woke me up that night, but I looked at I had an Instagram message from the family. Connor's mother, Alicia, at about 3:50 when she had just came home from the hospital, and I don't think she would mind me sharing it. Basically said my hands are covered in my son's blood. We need to make sure that that this doesn't happen again. And clearly it's happened, many times here in the last few weeks. And so to that end, I've been working with that family, the Dasa family, to we've got a campaign going called Walk Away from Violence. And so there's going to be some things around that. The other piece with that, Omari, is I was also approached by Willard and members of the community, and they charged me with figuring out a way, as we've done with Tyrone Love and others, to say the names of these other young people. And as you know, the Salisbury, we're good at projecting and getting the word out. And so I've got a site coming. It's called sayour.name. So it's SAYOUR .NAME. So that's a new site that we've got coming out, and it's going to really speak to keeping the legacy of all of these young people who have died of gun violence, their name alive.
Right, and one of the things we committed ourselves to here at Converge is we wanted to be able to make our platform open, for these parents and family, and it remains open. We've caught up with Donita Sinclair quite a few times. It was her son Lorenzo Anderson who was murdered here at the CHOP, and actually going out, I think on Saturday afternoon, they have an event. But for community members, because another thing that doesn't happen as well is people aren't able. It's important that the community that we say the name. But a lot of parents who suffer these losses in our community, they've never been able to go anywhere to really speak about their children. And one thing about the Converge platform is we pride ourselves in a longer format. My colleagues over there at the broadcast stations, they're in a tough spot. They got a minute and a half to tell a whole story, or 3 minutes. So, that door remains open. I know a lot of parents, are out there grieving still. They're in a grieving phase. But whenever you want to come out here and come and tell our community, and this Converge was born and raised in the Central District of Seattle, and we continue to serve. Yeah, we continue to serve our community, CD, South, and of course Seattle as a whole. But our door is open. You know what I'm saying, for people who want to come and talk more about this.
One of the things that and that's dope. Because we do need that. And that's what, like I said, parents have come to me personally and said, well, Con, how come you're not talking about my son, right? And I guess and I really didn't have an answer for that. And that's why I created that site. And it's great to be able to have this platform for parents to come to. But one of the things I had said that didn't make it in the clip from King 5 is that, until we as community, right, and I'm really speaking to black community as well because that's the community I come from, right? But until we as a community begin to look at other people's children in the way that we look at our own children, right? And it's not just a hashtag. We have to look at it and care. Right, and it can't just be until you see a hashtag and then all of a sudden your son, like in the case you talk about, little O, is gravely impacted. That now it's an issue.
Well, but so here's the thing is, and you bring up an interesting point, because in the Western Barricade, people got smacked. This is the first 8 days of the protests here on Capitol Hill. People sat there. You saw the video. People sat there, got tear gas. They got pepper sprayed, rubber bullets, all for people that they never met, for the idea and the concept of the value of Black lives. And I think that so clearly there's a passion when you talk about people caring more than beyond just themselves. Right. Clearly people have the capacity to do that, because if you're willing to come out there and be on that front line every single day, and for people that you'll most likely never meet, you know what I'm saying, and maybe have no connection to, you could take that same passion and turn it towards community. You know what I'm saying? And we can really put faces to names around people, in the community that could benefit from all that passion that clearly people have. It isn't like Seattle's full of dormant people. I mean, people take it to the streets.
Indeed. And I guess that's really what we need to do. And specifically, though, in this community, in the Black community, we really need people to be engaged on a daily basis, right? It's going to take all of us to turn this tide, around youth gun violence. And like I said, you cannot wait till it washes up on your shores or on your door, death come and knocks at your door, that, and my inbox is repeatedly filled. And honestly, I don't like to say, because people are going through trauma at the time, but part of me, when I get an inbox from people and they say, "Come, what's going on? It's so much death right now." You know what? It was so much death 6 months ago. It was so much death 12 months ago. Obviously, it was so much death 11 years ago. It's just that it mattered to you today. And they say, well, we got to do something. Well, yeah, but we need that same energy every time. Like, we need that all the time. And that's really the challenge, is how do we keep a sustained energy for life and love in our district and in our community and beyond.
A sustained energy for life and love. I think that's a good place to leave it for this segment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I guess we'll jump into the other news, since you're co-hosting today. We'll jump into the other news of the day, and then we'll also talk about your candidacy for the 37th District. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
All right, let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Omari Salisbury, and filling in for me today, is my brother, Chukundi. And I'll be honest with you, though, man. I mean, you're cool, but, man, Trae, she radiates. You know what I'm saying? It's all right. I'm gonna work with this. I'm gonna work with you today, man. You know what I'm saying? And we're definitely sending a lot of love and positivity out to Trayana and her family.
Indeed, she does radiate, and I love, when I watch the show, and she just asks provocative questions. She shines, and that's why the show is successful, right? Because you got you and her.
Yeah, that's definitely you got the square bear, the free spirit. All in one. All right, so we got a lot of clips to move through, and the big boss Oya said we got to end on time today. She said, "Oh, you've been taking these shows too long." So let me jump right into this. Me and Jake were down at the King County Courthouse earlier today. There was a rally there in support of Summer Taylor's family and for Diaz Love, who's still in the hospital there at Harborview. Actually, I'm interviewing Diaz today at 3 o'clock. I think we're going to do a live stream. So 3 o'clock, I'll catch up with Diaz Love. But TK was down there. People have been following TK in the streams for almost 2 months now. And so we talked to TK shortly. Here's the clip.
And so we're going to make sure he pays for what he did. He killed somebody deliberately. He wasn't under the influence. He wasn't mentally unstable. He was in his right state of mind and deliberately did this. Like, it was purposely done. He could have avoided hitting anybody, and he chose not to. I don't care what anybody has to say, really, honestly. You don't have to like me. You don't have to be my fan. You don't have to be a supporter. I don't care. But justice is justice, period. And what he did was commit murder. So whether you agree with what we're out here doing, or whether you agree with what we're saying or not, the fact of the matter is, Dweek Khalidi killed someone on purpose and injured another, and he deserves to go get punished to the fullest extent of the law. Regardless if you agree with us or not, that is fact, and you cannot argue with that. Regardless if you don't have to agree with our politics and what we're doing out here. You don't have to agree with the movement. But justice is justice, and we deserve, Summer Taylor's family deserves justice.
So now is there an added reason to stay in the streets? I know before, there's the 5 demands, which you guys just listed off, sometimes number 6.
Yeah, sometimes number 6.
You didn't bring up demand number 6 today, but it's okay. But are you now more intent on staying out here in protest season? A lot of people kind of think that protest season's coming to an end. Where are we at in protest season?
Stay tuned, man. There's a lot of stuff coming. Protest season just started. Literally, the budget vote is next week. Are you guys think we're finna quit? You're right. Summer and Diaz will kick our ASSs if we quit. Protest season ain't over. Ain't no protest season. It's summer season all year. And this is what we own. Beating our feet to the streets like we do every single day. It's working, ain't it? It's working. You don't have to agree with it, but it's working. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started, literally. This is just the beginning.
All right, so that was TK there, and then also on the full live stream, Diaz actually did a Facebook video call, which was really interesting. And then also Summer Taylor's mom came and addressed the crowd and everything else. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of passion right now, a lot of passion in the streets, especially with this group. And I'll be honest with you. So this is, I was, as you know, I was there on the freeway, right. And actually was just talking to TK on the freeway. They just got done doing the cha-cha. And, when everything happened, so there was a lot of people today there at the courthouse I hadn't seen since that day on I-5. So it was even a bit emotional for me, you know what I'm saying, and going down there and covering it. And at first it was Jake down there. And then, I was like, man, let me, let me go down there. And I'm glad that I did. It was good. But man, there's a lot of passion in the streets, Cun. I know that you were down here a few times during the Western Barricade as well, man. What are your thoughts quickly? I know it wasn't built into the show schedule today, but what are some of your thoughts about the protest?
My thought is that, like what TK said, we can't stop now. And whether you agree with some of the methods or not, it's getting the results. The needle is being pressed. The gas is the foot is the foot is to the pedal. And the results are being done. Me personally, I had to take a puff of my asthma medicine and exit stage left.
Bobby still laughs because I was, because I was doing the Seattle Police PD. Their posture has changed. The bicycle officers who don't have gas masks are being tapped out by the officers with gas masks. Because
Hey, look, man.
We were like, you go ahead, bro.
Hey, but you know what? And I'm gonna tell you like this. Many people know I have a few clips out there. I led a few protests myself. I was there, on May 30th. I led some protests.
Actually, there in that Seattle Times documentary, the very beginning.
Exactly. I'm in the beginning of that, and so again, the time that I have, I put it in, and so I'm not trying to shame anybody that hasn't been.
The thing is that what you see is I think that the conversation. The people who could come or did come or whatever, the Western Barricade, they came.
Yeah.
And people remember if they were here or not here. But at the same time, there's other people who are diligently working, because they might be policy wonks or this and that. I think it's probably just the people who've done nothing. You see what I'm saying? I don't think you necessarily, you don't necessarily, if you're into a protesting or if you're into social change, you don't necessarily need to be at every protest.
Well, I came to check on you, man.
I know you came here my birthday. I spent my birthday on the barricade. You came down here,
and I didn't even get to go to the barbecue. I got a problem with that. Okay, because your actual birthday, I was here. We was right outside on the Western Barricade.
We were right there on the Western Barricade for my birthday. No, this is true. I think we'll have you. We have a special coming up in a few days with people from the community view of the protest. You know what I'm saying? So we'll make sure and bring you back on that.
I'd love to be a part of that. I was actually on a few lives that night. And I know there's been a lot of issues around the police chief and the issues that you guys have been here every day. But I really believe that night, it just seemed like officers were kind of doing their own thing, and there's a real disconnect between the leadership at SPD and the line officers, and it was just crazy that night. And I was just worried about you personally, and I was like, "Come on, we gotta get out of here. It's your birthday." So I'm glad
I didn't leave past midnight though. I was like, we gotta wait for it. So, man, moving things along. Now, it was a big announcement yesterday by County Executive Dow Constantine via Twitter. Twitter is the way people are letting people know what's going on these days, and I'm sure we'll get a bigger plan out of him. Also, we've invited Executive Constantine on our show. Hopefully, we'll hear from him. I know he has a big, the State of the County address coming up. We'd love to talk to him about COVID. We'd love to talk to him about the youth jail, about other initiatives here, property taxes, as well as protest season. So I'm talking to his people. So hopefully, we'll get the county executive on here because now the spotlight just keeps moving around on people. But anyway, so I mean,
It's like TK said, it's working.
Man, this is this is from our partners at the South Seattle Emerald. Says that he's phasing out centralized youth detention. Detention is no longer a goal in the far distance, Constantine wrote in a tweet. We have made extraordinary progress and evolved to believe that even more can be done. And basically what they're saying is that by 2025, they're converting all remaining youth detention units at the Children and Family Justice Center to new use by 2025 and to closing the Seattle jail. Apparently that was a leaked email, you know what I'm saying? Well, welcome to government. But I mean, he tweeted about the youth detention, but apparently there's a leaked email about the executive wanting to close the jail as well. But since it's leaked, We'll stick to the detention center at the moment. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm super excited about that. As you you do know because you're my brother, but if folks may not know, the C-Spot Media Group office is on the corner of 14th and Jackson there. We've been there for 18 years, so most certainly in proximity to the facility and the trauma that families have been going through. I know a lot of people that have worked there, and so, I'm very excited about it. And, personally, I want to see it'd be great to make that into some kind of co-working space for, nonprofits like my own 100 Black Parents, where we can offer services in that building for our community. I'm very excited about it, and salute to the folks that really have been wearing the no youth jail shirts for years.
I would just let you know. So Nikita, she's somewhere in here. I think she's in the article here. But anyway, they're like, yeah, okay, cool, but man, that's too long from now. 2025.
Yeah, I saw that.
Step on the gas. Nice try. Close. But ZYD has actually been a movement for a while.
A long
around
time. One of the things that I've kind of, always, one of the issues that I always had with that as a project manager. So I work for the city as well, and I'm a project manager. I manage capital projects, right? And once the money has been allocated by law, you can't necessarily change. You can't spend that money on something else. Right. So I always kind of see that as an outlier comment around the youth jail. Is that once the money was allocated, we'd have to vote and change that.
It'd be interesting to ask Executive Constantine, because it's like, man, was your plan always to spend the $200 million on the jail and then flip the script, or is it like, he's now more aligned and in tune with the streets? So Nikita Oliver tweeted, "Stop jailing our kids now. There's no reason to wait till 2025.
Indeed.
Let youth decide how to repurpose it." And then there was another one where it's quite a few tweets in here that were saying, like, we don't want to wait 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think we should wait 5 years either. Like I say, obviously we have, all of the murder last night. We need as many spaces in this community where we can provide positive, youth programming and positive family support programming as possible. And that's most certainly a huge building that we can do that in.
We're gonna pick up another. We had a lot of topics today, but we spent a lot of time in the first segment talking about youth violence, which is important, and I'm glad we did. Let me pick another one here. Metro. So you had people who work for the county. Speaking of the county, although I know you work for the city, they came out and they talked about racism within the county system in Metro. Can you put that clip up, or the graphic?
Right.
And so we were talking before the show. It said a picket and rally draws attention to ongoing racism in King County workplaces, including Metro.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would think that this is really just the tip of the iceberg. I know as a city of Seattle employee, it's really been a tale of two cities, if you will. We continue
for 130 years.
Well, yeah, of course, right. And I guess but even just recently in the last decade, we continue to have the talk about the race and social justice toolkit and how we approach things. We have lots of trainings and the like, but the practice, does the what I like to say is does the impact match the intent? And I would think that the county most likely has all of the same things that we have, at the city, where they have all types of internal things.
All I know is this, because we got cut to a break.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that I can't really speak on the county, but I was on some call with the city black employees or something.
And
it was a few months ago, and man, they were just talking about. They were like, man, all this stuff looks good to the public, but it's like, man, they're marginalized within the city of Seattle system. Can't go too deep with you.
That's completely true. I was on one of those calls. I'm part of the Black Employee Network, and and I'm on those calls. Yeah, the Black Caucus. Shout out to them and the emails that they keep coming. But yeah, there's a true disconnect, and Metro employees are tired of it. And the other side is that while we're over here mad, the Black employees, and very disenfranchised, this entire system is emboldening the folks who would even place that statue. At the the racial epithet that was placed in Metro that kind of kicked some of this off.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think that anybody would be foolish to think that the issues that have plagued, our city from its beginning would just go away. And this is why, I think that platforms like this and other platforms that are engaged in the conversation are important, because we see that ink on paper, you can't legislate people's hearts and minds. You know what I'm saying?
Part.
You can put ink on paper, you can sign a bill or whatever, but we see that even on the presidential level, Obama does one thing, Trump does another. You know what I'm saying? Here on the local level, if we can't really change people's hearts and minds, then it's ink on paper, and we'll find that 3 or 4 years from now, someone would just reverse it.
Well, you know what I said at one of the rallies to teach in the other day, and a rally I did in May, is that we really need some of the folks that want to work with us. We need to end that white silence and the protesting. We need to take that protesting back to your workplace. And when you see, racist things that happen, like on a job panel, or people not getting the raise that they're supposed to get or getting passed over, we need our white colleagues to say something. Right? It cannot just be this group of disenfranchised, angry black people who are mad, on some call like the caucus. We need our coworkers to be just as mad. And I think that's what King County workers are saying right now. How come you're not as mad as we are? And there's, these kind of, placid memos that come out. But we really need that engagement from our coworkers, period.
Right, we're going to take a short break right now. We've got a few minutes left, but we're going to talk about you, Chukundi Love, as the candidate for the 37th District, spot number 2, right?
Yeah, spot number 2.
Okay, you're watching the Morning Update Show. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Omari Salisbury. Trae on a holiday is out today. So, my brother's doing what you're supposed to do. Call my brother, be like, hey, man, why don't you fill in and co-host with me, man?
And I'm trying to radiate like Trae would be.
Bro,
radiating.
you might as well give it up. All right, so you're running for office, and the thing is, the morning show's been on air before you even
Right.
put your name into the hat to run for office. This is your first time on the show.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and
I be at work every day.
Yeah, I'm just people know. You know what I'm saying. And it's funny because people are like, man, your brother running for like they got a sign there that says "Grill him." You see the sign, like right there.
Yeah. Somebody said that. We hope you win so your brother can grill you all the time. I said, well, bring it on.
I'm gonna put you on the press too. But first of all, we'll start off with some good news for you here, and so you can put this one up, all you. This is from the Seattle Times, and actually, we were supposed to run a segment about the Seattle Times Digital today, but of course, this news out of the Central District, we're going to move that to tomorrow. Right. The Seattle Times endorsed you. Won't go too deep into it because we don't have a lot of time, but it had a few nice things to say about you, huh?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I mean, obviously, I'm really from here, and I remember when you used to have op-eds in there as a teenager, right? So for me to be endorsed,
I was a paper boy.
Yeah, I was
for Seattle Times. We both had routes at the Seattle Times. That might have been why they gave you the endorsement. They looked you up and saw that like years ago you were a paper boy.
Yeah, I didn't get all my money as a paper
Seattle
boy,
Times.
right? So, but no, I'm just like I said, I'm really excited, and I feel like they, they really spoke to the great qualities of our campaign, and what people want. And so, I love that endorsement, and I think it's very true.
All right, so you got a hat on today. Just tip down just a little bit so they can see the bill of your hat right there. It says herb vote. You could 20 seconds here. Tell us what Herb Vote is. We actually have a clip that we're going to play as well. I think it's from Q13.
Yeah, so Herb Vote is the Urban Vote Project. I started it in 2014 just as a way to engage our community, civic engagement, and I've been doing it ever since, and it's really taken off, to tell the truth.
Right. So if we could play this clip right. Hold on, when was this from? This was from
2018.
So 2 years ago. Go ahead, Alia.
Q13's Nadia Romero explains the rules of who can vote and how.
Yes, we're with a real organization and we're doing real work.
Herb Vote plans to get out the vote with its vibrant and passionate leader, Chukundi Salisbury, at the helm.
I'll just type my name in.
Equipped with a tablet and a message, Chukundi and others meet people where they're at. You can see their stops on their Instagram page, barbershops, concerts, and other social events. Outreach efforts to get people registered to vote, partially funded by a $10,000 grant from King County Elections and the Seattle Foundation. Votes from people with criminal pasts like felony convictions.
So long as you are not under the supervision of the Department of Corrections, so basically incarcerated, you are eligible to vote. Your rights are automatically restored here.
Washington State's law challenges conventional thinking.
There's a national feeling that if you're a felon, that you can't vote.
But in Washington State, once you're not under correction supervision, you can re-register and vote.
When did you get off of supervision? He said, man, I haven't been in trouble in 10 years. And I said, well, you can vote then. And just the look that came over him, right, was just a whole energy. It's like you kind of won the lotto or something, right?
And the right to vote in Washington State includes another vulnerable population, people experiencing homelessness.
Tons of homeless folks are elated when they find that out, right, that they can, in fact.
You're going to have to talk to Trae on the wardrobe people because it looked like you got the same hat on.
And it's in fact the same hat 2 years later, man. You know what? I'm like you. I wear my hat around the world, around the neighborhood.
All right. And so, I mean, clearly if that was 2 years ago, you know, what got you passionate about trying to raise awareness about people voting and being involved in the process?
Well, you know what? I spent my whole life as being a credible messenger, right? And what I found is that many people in our community, it's not the issue, it's who tells you about it, much like Converge. And so we had people who didn't really know that they could vote. Even though there's a lot of messaging about being able to vote, it wasn't until somebody like me came into the barbershop and said, no, you can in fact vote. And just seeing the response on a person's face. I talked to a young Herman. I don't know if you know Herman, but last night he said, man, I'm 36 years old and I didn't know I could vote. Nobody told me. So, I mean, it's a great feeling to empower people through civic engagement, and I get a kick out of it every time.
All right. So you're running for 37. So now I got to put you in the hot seat just like everybody else. You know, it's like everybody's watching. You know, Mayor Durkin watching, the chief, you know what I'm saying? Down Constantine, Governor Inslee. It's like, let's bake it. First of all, man, what makes you qualified to even run for the 37th? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, a lot of people know you as an entertainer, cut love, this and that. Some other people know that you know, working for the city and the Parks Department. Bobby Steele's got the Grill 'em Hard sign up there. Why are you even qualified to run for the 37th?
You know what? I'm uniquely qualified to run for this position because, as you mentioned, I've been an entertainer for years and connected across this community through real connections with families, you know, so through some of their best events. But on the flip side, I've been a 23-year city employee. I've managed $1 million budgets for over 20 years, managed staff, presented to council, developed policy, inputted on policy, and the like. So I most certainly had the qualifications to run for this position, not only professionally, but personally.
So, I mean, have you been involved in the machine, so to speak? Like, do you understand? So here's the thing is, there's one thing to be out in front and want to run, and people, it's the best thing about our city and country. You can just run. Is there anybody else who's supporting your run? We see the Seattle Times is supporting your run.
You know, I have an amazing amount of community support, business leaders, faith leaders, people, you know, like...
So, you know, I'm going to call him and ask him. I'm like, man, Cut came on my show talking about you support him. Do you really support? Yeah, I did that. You know, I did that with the mayor. I'm like, who you talking to? Who are you with? Mayor Durkin, who are you talking to? Cut, Who are you dealing with, man?
Well, you know what? And every one of my people have vouched for me, and I think that's really what this campaign is built on, is authentic connections. You know, these aren't just people that I called out the blue. I've worked with the folks in this community for, 30 years. And so, and it's starting to connect, and people get that.
So, I mean, the thing is that everybody talks about the 37th district, one of the most diverse probably in the state, maybe one of the diverse, at least it used to be in the country.
Right.
And speaking of used to be, let's start right there. What's up with gentrification, man? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do about it? What are your thoughts on it?
You know what? One of the things I've been saying, well, first of all, my thoughts is that, again, progressive Seattle has let us down. Right. And I talk about this all the time in the rallies that I talk at. We have consistently as a community took the L. Right. We talk about House Bill 1918, where there was really a concerted effort to run African Americans out of this area. It was a plan. And so we need people to acknowledge that, right? And now we need to repair
but who
it.
needs to acknowledge it? Because House Bill 1918 passed both houses unanimously, which even means that the representatives and senators from Okanagan County and Ponderay County and Spokane and Walla Walla, the whole state legislature unanimously agreed that there's been systemic racism, especially targeting African Americans in the Central District. That was in like May of last year. In July, almost a year ago, Governor Inslee signed this document, House Bill 1918. So the legislature is like, hey, man, we did acknowledge. Who locally needs to acknowledge House Bill 1918 and put that bill to work in our community?
Well, I think part of that bill is being put to work now. I would say that it's part of the foundation of King County equity now, and a lot of the protests and things that are going on now in terms of the property transfers, in terms of a real conversation about reparations, and so that is the foundation. So we need the organizations within the locally. For example, we're talking about these property transfers. That is exactly the folks that need to recognize that piece, right? So, locally, when we're talking about these Sound Transit properties, that is, in fact, who needs to recognize that the folks were.
So, Sound Transit, where's the camera at over? Sound Transit, I don't know who the director is. We gotta find the director of Sound Transit today, and we want to know your position on House Bill 1918 and how you're going to work, since it passed both houses unanimously and signed by Governor Inslee, how you're going to work, through authority of your Office of Sound Transit to work with the community. So I'll follow up on that. You believe we'll probably hear from him today.
Yeah, let's follow up on that. So you're right. Like at a state level, this has been identified. And so now we need to have it permeate all the way down through. Really through decisions locally at our institutions like the city of Seattle where I work, right? We're talking about those. I'm in meetings.
Yeah, that's the problem. The city's always talking. I know you don't control it on that level, but man, the city, you're talking out the side of your neck.
That is true to a certain degree, right? I mean, we all serve at the pleasure of the mayor, right, as a city employee, and I can just tell you.
And the mayor's like, why are you bringing me up? Damn, can I get one day off?
Well, I'll put it this way. Staff, line staff and the people that work there, the true workers like the King County Metro employees that are talking, we want to see real change.
All right, so a few other things here, and they're giving me the sign. People think that I run the show over here, but it's actually all you.
I see that.
Who runs the show. So, I mean, it's one thing to work for, you said you manage millions of dollars for the city, but the city got hella systems and infrastructure and everything else. And the city managing money in the city will happen, but before you were there and after you were there, what kind of experience can you, and really if you go talk to a small business owner, I'm a small business owner, or in the 37th, what relationship or history do you have as being a business owner? It's one thing working for government and be like, I manage budgets for government. How are you going to talk to business owners?
I think if people look at my platform and hear my backstory, I have a backstory on every piece of my platform. And specifically to your question around business, I connect with business owners because I've had a business that's been run out of business as a result of government. You remember I had the Metropolitan Barbershop on Martin Luther King.
You used to charge me for my cuts.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get a free cut.
The light rail came and shut us down. You know, they had big things of dirt in front of our door. We were unable to do business. So I've had a business that's been impacted by a crazy thing. Not obviously not COVID, right? But when I talk to business owners and what they need as a business owner, I pay B&O tax. I've maintained an office, the C-Spot Media Group office here for 18 years, right? So I can connect with business owners in a real way. And if you look at the platform on everything on there. When we talk about police accountability, as you know, we've been working with our mother as a result, with Mothers for Police Accountability for 30 years, as you had on the show. So again, everything on my platform, I have a personal backstory that I can connect to people in this community about work that I really did.
All right, so one of the stories we pulled out, I got 3 minutes, so we'll keep it short. So I'll just top tonight is COVID and school opening. My nephew, school age. How are you feeling about potentially sending him back to school?
I'm very cautious. I really don't want him to go back to school. My son obviously benefits from having a computer, but the thing that I saw is that my son is very social, and many of our young people are social. We need that social interaction. He is actually suffering. My son had all A's, and then this year, this is the first time he didn't get all A's because he didn't see the value in tuning into the Zoom, right? So I want to work with ways to find where we can still have some kind of personal interaction, and maybe that's outdoor classrooms.
Right, and speaking of that, 6 p.m. tonight, Community Voices, we have School Board Director Hersey, School Board Director Hampson, and School Board Director DeWolf. Community Voices, we're talking about COVID in Seattle Public Schools and educational justice. One other thing here is that, so they call you Mr. Green Thumb. and then we got to get out of here. But I bring that up is that when I did sit in at one of these debates or calls they had, and I guess I'm throwing you a softball here, but they said that you are the closet environmentalist. Most people don't know that you spent like 20 years on environment or something.
Yeah, I posted a link yesterday where I was working on the Duwamish reclamation and environmental justice issues on the Duwamish in 1995. Right, and that's a real link. And so, at the end of the day, and to this day, I'm the environmental sustainability manager at Seattle Parks and Recreation. I'm a real environmentalist. I know that they don't usually wear Air Force Ones.
I say this is a fun. Well, a lot of people don't know. I got a degree in geology.
That's right.
And I got a degree in geology and a minor in environmental science.
Well, and at the end of the day, that's been one of the worst parts of my career is that I'm always second judged because I don't look like most people's version, or vision of what an environmentalist looks like. But I've truly been one my entire life.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Con, and you know what I'm saying? You're definitely going to have to go earn it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Man, I wish there wasn't so much tragic news on the front end of the show because I want to grill your ass right here. You know what I'm saying? This is my get back for all the years. This is for all the years.
Well, you know what? I'm welcome to come back at any time.
We'll have to bring you back on here and talk about a few things. But I will tell you this, is that the city of Seattle as a whole, what we've seen here in Converge, the city of Seattle, which definitely includes the 37th district and outlying areas, the one thing I find about the city of Seattle is it might not necessarily be as polarized as we think for people that just want to bring an honest, true, and credible message. And right here, this Converge platform kind of proves it. And I don't know what bill that I fit. It definitely don't look like the standard reporter or journalist that
Indeed.
people see on the evening news. But man, we've been able to capture the attention of people in Seattle, especially voters, just because we're keeping it real and trying to have an honest conversation. And I'm one of those people I tell all the time, I'm smart enough to know what I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that I don't know. These guys teach me something here every day, and we try to connect with people on a human level. And so I just say this to you is that I prejudged myself as well, thinking that, man, Seattle's not going to really accept me. I look this way. I talk this way. I'm in my shorts all the time. Blah, blah, blah. I talk this way on the microphone. But I come to find out that Seattle is a city that really just rocks with authentic people.
Yeah, and we're really ready for the new normal. I think Converge is an excellent example of that. People are ready for change. And the fact that we're consuming news the way that you are delivering it is a perfect example of that. And that's one of the things things I'm trying to really relay with my campaign is that we need a radically different type of person, a person that may not look like the kind of candidate that you're used to seeing. And in fact, I don't look like anybody that's ran for office in this position in a long time. So thank you for having me.
All right, real quick before we get out, how can people catch up with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Chukundi 206. That's CHUKUNDI 206, and I'm on Instagram at Chukundi CHUKUNDI, and I'm on Facebook.
And your campaign?
And my campaign is Chukundi.com. Yeah, CHUKUNDI.com.
All right, Chukundi Salisbury, candidate for 37th District, and also my big brother. Thank you for joining us. You know, we always stand up at the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
So
we're
gonna stand up right here.
You can see who's a little bit taller at this point.
You can see who's a little better looking at this point. We're gonna get out of here. So programming notes: 3 o'clock today with Diaz Love, and then 6 o'clock tonight with another edition of Community Voices with the Seattle School Board directors. So we got Director Hampson, Director DeWolf, and Director Hersey. Until tomorrow. Whatever, man. Until tomorrow. Peace.
All right, y'all. One love. Thanks for having me.
Harmonies of liberty, let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.